Okay, so when I started the movement for a new nation, a nation not being defined by borders like most people think. A nation is actually people who identify as a collective under a common cause, language, history, or bond, and is not a country with a defined border. So, first off, that's an important thing to keep in mind, to know. But essentially, 14 years ago, when I set out to go do this, initially, when you look at some of the older stuff on the internet, you might see some very different terminology, such as micronation or that sort of thing. Well, sorry. When you look at this project and what I was creating in the early years, I mean, what else would you call it, really? I mean, I was just like one guy, maybe two, and I didn't really know what we were doing, didn't really know how to build a nation, and so, of course, we were a micronation. We tried to do what they did, make a flag and get stamps and create our own money system and, do all the symbolic stuff that nations do in the micronational content. But along the line, we took it further. I looked at all the pillars that make up a unique culture, that create a unique people, and that make unique nations. And we didn't just simulate it. We actually incorporated it, lived it out every single day, and grew our ranks. We are now considered what I would say a non-territorial nation. We have grown our ranks to thousands and thousands of people around the world. We have our own unique language. We have our own law book. We have our own internal security forces, basically our own police, so to speak. Our own court systems. We have our own everything. I mean, if you live in a country, just think about everything that country has. Medical systems, we have a medical system. We have our own medical system. Policing, we have that. Military, we have that. We basically have everything. We are a non-territorial, and we're a parallel government, parallel nation to the nation. And people don't fully grasp this and understand it yet. What I'm doing is I'm challenging the Westphalian model of governance and the way we view the world. This whole thing started 14 years ago, and it has literally boomed into a cultural phenomena. We even have our own culinary arts, our own recipes, our own unique dishes that you can't find anywhere else in the world unless one of our people or practitioners make it for you. We have little communities, diasporas, and communes, and we're also tied directly into the faith, into the church, and we are we believe in Christianity, but we have a unique twist on that too. There are some of the traditions have changed, some of the things have changed a little bit, but I just want people to be aware that when we talk about nationhood, we're not talking about statehood. Two entirely different concepts. When you point the finger and say, no, Well, the fact of the matter is yes, because you're thinking of state, I'm thinking on terms of nation, and then of course there's the country. The word country, the word state, and the word nation have three entirely different meanings, and linguistically speaking, you cannot unroot the root word, which gives birth to the word. So therefore, the word, the root, is always the same. And you can't change it. So when you understand words, you actually understand how they operate. You have a better understanding of the world around you and better understanding of the structure of power and legitimacy. And for us, this was something that had to be refined over years. We didn't want to just be the guy in the backyard who planted a flag and be the traditional micronation. We went all the way out and created a full-on culture, our own legacies, ethos, legends, our own everything. I mean, everything. And we have people who practice in those areas. Our law book is over 400 pages of law. And it's written in such a way that it gives us complete and total governance and power over our people, while at the same time respecting the host laws of the host state or host nation that we operate out of. So we're literally a parallel system in the system. And we have people in different parts of the world who represent who we are. And we're growing. We're still growing. So I would consider this to be a phenomena in political science that needs to be looked at. And I did write a paper on it, 2 papers actually, part 1 and a part 2. And they are archived permanently forever in the Wayback Machine. And I will connect the link to the first one, and then when you go to it, you can also likewise click the link inside the description to get part 2 and read these new political theories and things using us basically kind of as a case study, but what really makes a people a people? Is it truly the fact that you're birthed under a flag, under a state? Or is it that you identify yourselves as a particular people or culture? And these are things we really have to start looking at. And also the idea of these big states, and I talk about this in part 2 of the documents, is mega nations, mega states, like the United States, for instance, or Russia, or China. I mean, we've gotten so big, so land, that it's difficult to control what happens. It's difficult to control the people. And in order to do so, you got to get more and more tyrannical, really. More and more hard, more and more brutal with people. Because you hit this threshold where there's so many people, so many ideas, and so many cultures going on all at the same time in overlapping areas, that you run into governance issues, governance problems. And I go into depth about that. I actually talk about that. I talk about the statistics and some of the problems that arise with that. And I talk about how civilization would be better off if we, and I gave 2 different types of well, three essentially types of governance models, which is non-territorial and slash cyber, and some countries have already become entire cyber countries, and they're legitimate and recognized by the United Nations. And so, what is the future of governance? And I talk a little bit about NGOs, where NGOs are not a nation, they're not a country, but they act in such a way that they essentially kind of are, and they're given and granted special permissions and powers that regular people don't have, and they hold a lot of power, and they're able to influence world events and put politicians in office and pay for mega campaigns and get people to swayed in different directions. And these are nothing more than non-governmental organizations, aka private companies. And so when you have a private company, or lots of them actually around the world, who essentially hold almost as much power, sometimes even more power, than the government of the state, then what really is the state? What really are you as a politician? If a private board member on an executive board somewhere in a multi-international company has enough power to basically bump you off, whether physically or have you completely removed from office. And what good are you as a state if you also can't protect your borders against these ginormous corporations who steamroll over you, who have special laws, and in some cases, in some countries, have even formed private military groups to enforce their will or to take over entire territories for their operations in order to make money. So, you think about that. What really then is a country? What really is a nation? And this is why I'm greatly pushing people to wake up, to people to look at the reality of things. If you think your government is all powerful, almighty, if you think they're the ones who hold all the keys, if you think they're the only ones who hold the keys in this world, you're sadly mistaken by a long, long shot. Governments, yes, they have the monopoly on the use of police power and military interventions. And they can really do stuff to you. But at the same time, they're not the ones who hold all the power. When you have multi-trillion dollar industries, or billion-dollar industries, I should say, that are steamrolling over governments, greasing the pockets of politicians, making the power moves behind the scenes, getting special interest passed in legislation. I mean, essentially, they're the ones running behind the scenes. And they've created military organizations to enforce their will and their power in certain other places and in various other zones in the world. And when you got also non-territorial sovereigns like what I've created, because I definitely say I'm a non-territorial sovereign, because I have people who are willing, and this is why I say I'm sovereign, because we have thousands of people who follow my internal law that we've created out of a global Congress. And we have a global Congress that represents us. Our laws are passed to everybody, everywhere, equally, all over the world. They're tied to us. They would rather represent themselves as one of us than where they originally came from. They would rather follow our law internally And even though they might have to be in the world, they may not be of it because they're operating it on an entirely different parallel system. Our system. And they have more allegiance and more honor to us than they do their current governments. And that's the truth. And so we're not the only one. We're not the only one. And when you look at the way countries rise and fall, it's only a matter of time anyway before all these powers in the world fall. America will fall. Russia will fall. China will fall. They will all fall eventually, sooner or later, because every empire in human history rises and falls, and new ones take their place all the time. It's just the way things are. And so when you look at it through a historical lens, and you look at it through a group of people who decide to organize and live under one consent, what does one consent actually mean anyway? Well, it means that when people choose one consent, they're choosing us over their fixed nation where they came from. And when you organize in such a way and in such a manner, does not that not become a nation? If somebody could tell somebody else what to do and they follow it, and you have governance and control over them through your governmental model, and they obey your laws and your edicts, and they're willing to live under your system, and they're willing to subscribe to your culture that you build and create, then what really is the power of a state? And that's all I have to say about that. Think about it.